Now you're actually going to walk.
2-inch steps.
Now go over here again.
And you're using that height, like last time, you're using the height to step forward. Height to step forward. Just like the stairs that we did last time.
So here's how I hurt myself. Great new exercise, lots of fun, it gives you something new to do. 44, I'm sick of working on doing the same exercises all the time, so I'm always looking for something different to do. So I get up at 4 in the morning, I go down to my basement, and I do these until I get hurt. And here's how I got hurt. I got my stick. I thought my stick was a great idea just because I had a stick. It's fun to have a stick. I get in my position, I went back, and what happens is I went back too far, and then when I went to lift, I shifted from recruiting from my hip and ab, which should be paired together, into grabbing with my lower back. And 2 days later, I'm at Sean's house on his day off, begging him for treatment. And I brought my kids to wreck his stuff, so he gave me treatment later. That's how I get free treatment. So what you want to do, the key is this. You only go back far enough. You go to the very point where you start to feel the stretch in your hamstring, and then you come forward about 1 inch, so you don't feel it in your hamstring anymore. You don't feel the stretch. You need to earn the stretch. You need to earn the distance back. As you get stronger over time, you'll get to go pretty far back.
Can I say something? The hamstring tension is a neuroprotective mechanism. The hamstrings attach from here to here. When they contract, they tip your pelvis this way. That's the same thing as your lower abdominal. So the lower abdominal and your hamstring are synergists. They both do the same thing. If the hamstring is tight, it's saying to you, if you're listening, you don't have enough lower ab, man. You can't do this with this, so I've got to increase the tension, keep that pelvis level. As opposed to getting to here, just having this on, and having these soft. So as you go down into here, you hit that hamstring limit. If you feel the tension, that's where your hamstring's saying, that's where I have to kick in my tone, because you don't have abs beyond this point, which is what we said in the first session. These are abdominal exercises. These are core exercises. So you come out of it, hamstring says, oh, you're in your abs now, and we work there. As you get better, you start to drop, and drop, and drop. But you got to have your abdominal. I'm pulling these ribs down so hard right now. Okay?
And I'll show you the changes. I had a kid that came in and said, my start sucked, let's work on him. I said, okay. So I filmed him on the start, and I'm going to guess that his starts look like your kid's starts. And then we spent 3 weeks doing these exercises, about a half hour every time I saw him, which was twice a week. And you'll see the difference that the exercises make. Again, the core exercises that we do. So the other point that I need to make is, and where other people make mistakes, you got your stick, you push back, but the other key component is you need your knees to be behind your ankles. Because what's going to happen is people who want to come down and they're going to push their knees in. You know, when people get into their squats, their power squats, you watch people do their squats in football or in PE or whatever. You see people, they always come here first, and this is where they're used to going. We need to come back, so you initiate that centric with the hamstring glute. Okay? So you're going to push back.
Said another way, think about this. If you come down, oh, there's my hamstring length. The hamstrings are saying abdominals, you don't have enough. What I did by bending my knees is I just took the safety valve out. My abdominals are still saying, oh, we're fine here. I don't feel the hamstring tension. This is where people get injured. You go to here, hold that position. As soon as you bend the knee, you're flexing the knee, which takes the load out of the hamstring. You just let the air out. So now you're vulnerable because you're still vulnerable at the top end. Okay, so yes, as Chris said, you've got to keep that knee back.
And it's kind of hard to teach people to do that, so what I have them do is I'll use my stick, and I'll put it right in front and say, all right, it's electric wire or something like that will kill you. Something's always got to kill you. And then you push back. If you hit the stick, you're done. Okay, so you need to push back away from the stick. You can put them up to a bleacher. Pull out the bleachers, you sit on the bleachers, you do your first ab exercise, stand around, face the bleacher, all right, shins up to the bleacher, you can't touch the bleacher.
Because the knee's going forward because it's looking for that safety valve. It says you can't go down anymore. Your hamstrings are too tight there. And you don't have enough abs. The knee comes forward. So that's your working point.
And then start your walk. Once you get into that position, you feel comfortable there. I would start with doing isometrics or just holding it. You'll find out how difficult it is to hold an isometric position for 30 seconds. It can actually be quite uncomfortable.
He's making it harder on himself because put your hands up to kind of offset the butt going back. You got this huge mass going backwards, and you're trying to offset here. So he's making it a little harder for himself, but he's using it for a good cue for it to go back. So I like it.
And if it's too hard, duct tape. It works every time. You take that sucker onto their back, and then you have to use your hands in it. And I'll show you. I actually duct tape the whole stuff. It's cheap. I get $3 for $3 or something like that. I'll go ahead and go on. Oh, I have a band around my knees. This is the last, most difficult portion of the monster walks. I've now taken a rubber band and put it around my knees. My stepping pattern is kind of out, so that I'm arcing to the outside.
To get the glute to work with the abdominal and the hamstring tension, it just brings that in. Because if your knees are coming in, right, you're trying to stop the limb. So you have to pull it out. So some people go in because they're good, right?
Yeah.
But some people, as they're here, you have to teach them to keep the glute on because it's a glute exercise.
I found it works much better with girls than guys. I have a blue band on there. If you guys have the TheraBands, red is too light. It'll snap. So go right to green or blue. That's no good for this. Okay,
There are some people who are going to be out here because they're bowling. You put a ball between them, and you have to squeeze the adductor, okay, depending on what they have. Some people are not gifted with straight limbs, they have bowling. That's what we should have done good. We don't see over there. Shift, lift, height, drop. We're building on that previous hour's exercise. And you want to talk a little more in the middle first? The line, the body build.
And when you're doing your walk, again, it's a line type thing. You want to make sure, if you don't have a line, and people aren't thinking about a line, you'll see people veer off. Their strong sides can fit.
But also, you're trying to keep, you don't want to stack all of your weight up and over all the time. You're trying to keep this center in the middle the whole way. It requires more abdominal. That's how he got hurt.
Next exercise, this is a progression from the toe exercise. No?
This is progression from monster.
Progression from
Monster is small.
Okay. Now it gets really hard. So this box is a little high for me, but I was too lazy to grab that one right there. And so now I'm actually hip hiking up onto a box.
This is a nice parlay from the side steps that they were going with the steps in the last session and side stepping up the stairway. This is just harder because you're in the bottom squat monster position.
Now if you remember last year, if anyone was here last year, we talked about hip hikes. I think it's interesting that when you do glute medius work against a ball or any kind of stuff, that it's slightly different when your knees are straight than they are when you're bent and pushed back, that you'll actually feel more glute when you're pushed back than you will when you're straight up and down. So really it's important to exercise both ways. You know, you want to do glute med work, you know, any type of hip hike, four-way hip, any of that stuff with legs straight, and then you want to do it slightly bent, and then you want to do push back. And it actually grabs different muscles and you feel different places. Now I've increased it even more. That's a 10-pound kettlebell in my left hand. It's on the outside hand. You want to make sure that hangs right over about your leg. You don't want it too far out the front. It will cause you to twist. I'm struggling a little bit. 10 pounds is too much for me.
And the box is probably too much. Because you saw them wobbling. And just to bring it up to you, so you hear your body lines. I don't just see it. Remember, we're training side frontal plane. This whole session, last session, this session, we're training all these lateral muscles, right? All of them.
And then here we go. This is the next exercise that goes from Sean's heel raise. And what I've done, and you'll find out this is the killer. I have a little disc ball that I deflate a little bit, and I put it between my ankles. I keep my heels as high as I can, and I'm not talking about midway, where you're here. You want to be locked out as high as you can be, almost like a ballerina that walks real tall. Okay, And my kids do that at track practice. We literally see guys just walking around like this, just on that big toe joint, trying to get their heel as high as they can get. And then you go ahead and you do a squat.
So what you're teaching them is to hold the ankle position like you're in the blocks, like you're in your sprinting spikes, and now you're learning how to push the glute through that. The problem is a lot of people, as you push through, if the calf's not strong enough, the heel will go down. Create a posterior movement, but also loading your heel.
And I would guess that of all the people that I've done this exercise with, the first time they did it, about 80% their butts were mashed potatoes. Meaning, when they get up on their toes, they couldn't contract those glutes, which means when they're sprinting and coming through, at the point where that glute needs to make that impulse, it's dead. So they're going to find somewhere else to push from. That's where you get your quad runners from. That's where you get the people who sway their hips to try and find a way to swing their hip to get their body forward, and they overstride with that arm. They're going to find some way to move that ass forward because the glute's not there. So what I have my kids do is I put them up against a wall or a table or something, and then you take one hand against the wall for balance, the other hand goes right on your butt cheeks. You make them squeeze their butt cheeks at the top. Some people won't even be able to do that, so they have to kind of punch their butt a little bit, wake it up. It works. And then slowly go down as best you can, keep your butt cheeks squeezed. You'll be amazed at when people get it, that they'll say, Coach, my butt's burning. You feel anything in your calves? Not really, because your glute is driving everything. That's become your major driver. That's doing the work. The calf isn't getting tired because he's not doing much. It's coming from your glute. What do you want to have drive your athlete down the track? The largest muscle in your body, the glute, or maybe a conglomeration of some really small muscles down in your lower leg. That's what it comes down to. So if you can't get to that glute, you're not going to run very fast. Now I move the ball to my knees. Just as a variation, some people get better at glute contraction in the knees than they do the ankles, and I would say which one feels weaker, then you want to do 2 sets of those and then 1 set of the other one. Go ahead.
Think about that ball. If you don't have enough inner thigh squeeze, the ball is pushing your knees out, which can have a roll to the other side of your foot. So it's harder at this level typically because the knees are being driven outwards beyond the hip line. So you're going to have to have even more ankle control to drive that in if you don't have it.
And what's great about this, I do 25s, I can handle it. As long as you can keep your butt engaged, that's how long you can go for. But as soon as you're done with this exercise and you have them walk away, they feel like, man, I can really feel like I'm getting into my big toe. I really feel my glute working really well. That's what you want. You want to do an exercise that as soon as they walk away from it, they feel awesome, like they can go fly right now. I don't want to beat them up on the exercise, because then I don't know what's going to happen on the next set. I don't know what muscles they're going to recruit. I don't know what's going to happen.
These are nice like cueing exercises before practice too. Get everybody into their like muscle groups so that practice is actually putting strength and endurance and challenge into the right muscle group as opposed to your own.
Again, you can go over and try it. If we had more room, I'd let you try it here, but I don't like those stairs, they're kind of tight. They're hard. They're hard. And to do them properly, it takes a lot of time, so you need to allocate time and track. This isn't like do core at the end of the workout type thing. This is something that you need to put time to, because it really pays off. We'll show you in this video here.
So remember, now we're going to progress these into movement. Okay? Increase skill level.
See what happens when I don't get to use my computer. Sean made fun of my computer last night. Instead of 5 and 7-inch holes in my socks. That's good to see you. So progress these movements into something you can do on the track. This is my driveway. That's my old house. I call it a Hawaiian garage because I just throw stuff all over my front yard and hope the neighbors don't call the police on me. On my driveway, I have a really long driveway. I painted a line down the middle of my driveway.